Thanks for tuning in. For the Looking Back series, I'm Marianne Pleva. This is a 12 program and a series that focuses on area residents that have led extraordinary lives. My guest today, Richard Makuck, has lived most of his life in Chester and in Essex. Now retired, he actually lived and worked in the same downtown Essex building for 40 years. And he has a special connection with the Chester Fair. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Marianne. Thanks.
It's so good that you're here, and you made a long trek all the way from
Florida,
yeah,
right?
I know. Anything for a little TV coverage. So let's start with that Chester Fair, because our cameraman Bill Cook was telling me about your association.
Yes, I've always went to the Chester Fair ever since I was a little kid. My mother would bring me up there, and I always remember things about it. And I've missed a few years, but I'm 68 years old, and I've gone probably almost every year. And in the last few years, coming up from Florida, I try to enter things in the fair. I like to knit and crochet, so I've entered some Afghans, and I like to bake. That's one of my favorite things. And I do remember one year entering a red velvet cake and winning first prize and best of show. And the interesting thing about it is when I was going to make the cake, I figured I'd go out and buy everything fresh, new salt, new flour, new everything, because I wanted to make sure, you know, everything was fresh. And even I had a customer of mine who brought me fresh eggs from her chickens. So I even had fresh eggs, not even from the store. So
no wonder it won.
Yeah.
With all that
so after I won first prize on it, I was talking to one of the women who was in charge of the food up there. And I asked her, I said, gee, I said, I didn't know if I would win, and I said, what made them pick my cake as the winner? And they said they thought that that was what red velvet should taste like.
Yeah, great,
so
great. Good judges. Well, that was good, and good that you had an article, you said.
Yes, and Claudia Van Ness, who used to be a reporter for the Hartford Courant, did a little article about it in the newspaper.
Now she's an artist.
Yes, yes, and I've seen some of her artwork. She's very good.
She's very good, and she actually, she's the one who started that Common Good Garden over in Old Saybrook. So that's a wonderful thing that she did.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. So let's get down to early. We have to go back a whole bunch of years.
We can.
What brought your parents to this area?
Well, actually, it was my grandparents.
Your grandparents.
My father's parents came from Poland, and they came over as teenagers. And the story has it that they didn't even know each other when they were on the boat. That's their wedding picture.
Okay.
They got married in 1899.
1899, so we are going back a long time. That's a great wedding photo.
Yes, and like I said, they didn't know each other on the boat. They both settled in Moodus, and then they met, got married, and moved to Iverton. And they both worked at Pratt Reed in the Iverton for a few years, and then 2 years later, they had enough money to buy a house and property on Pond Meadow Road in Iverton.
So they were close to the workplace.
Yes, yes, so they could walk to work.
Yeah, and did they both continue to work? Or?
They both continued to work for a few years, but then my grandfather, he didn't care for working in the factory too much, so then he opened a dry goods store. And then after that, he was one of the first people that had a car in Iverton. And he would take people on errands, whether it was like to the hospital to have something done or whatever. So he decided to get a little taxi business, and then he opened up for the school buses.
Oh, yeah.
And
so
he did the Essex
So he had the school bus company with your dad.
With my father, yes.
And we have such an interesting picture that you provided of that school bus, and right down
there in the far right
is a famous
is a girl in a black dress, and I swear it's Virginia Cook, the first lady that you had on the interview. And I showed it to her, and she said, well, it could be, but when I looked at it, I said, Ginny, that's your face. That has to be you.
Yeah, oh, so you showed it to her.
And one of the reasons why she told me about it is because she was petrified of my father. I guess they were very strict. You couldn't fool around on the bus. So she said she was always afraid of him.
No throwing paper.
No throwing nothing, yeah.
Back
so that's
then,
the early group, and that had to be in the, he had the bus route in the 20s, 30s, and the beginning of the 40s.
It looks like quite a crew. I'd be a little nervous just with my classmates in that picture.
And then he retired, you know, in the 40s, and he passed away in the 60s, yes.
So he had the he had the first car, you said, or
yes,
something
one of the
and
first
the
cars
first
in
telephone?
Iverton. The first telephone.
Okay.
Yeah, in Iverton.
And so he had kind of like they have this place, Fish, now, that's nonprofit.
Oh, right.
You need someone to take you to the doctor.
Yes, but he got paid.
He got paid.
Yes, he did it as a business.
He was a real entrepreneur.
A real
not
entrepreneur,
just a volunteer.
right.
Yeah. Right.
And I guess my grandmother, after that, didn't work. Once she, well, they had 8 children.
So that's plenty of work right
Yeah,
there.
they had 8 children. My father was the 3rd oldest, I believe.
And he's, now let me just go to the one picture. There's a picture of the boathouse down in Essex.
Yes.
And
you can't
so that's another relative.
That's my father.
Oh, that's your dad.
That's
okay.
my father, and you can't see on the left, but this is after the hurricane of '38. I guess my mother and father went down to take pictures down at the bottom of Main Street in Essex, and on the left, you can't see it.
Oh, it's a little baby carriage.
There's a baby carriage right on the edge of the water, and I'm thinking that's my brother because he was born in June. The flood was September 9th of 1938, the hurricane, and it looks like he's getting ready to float away down the water, and my mother must have left him there to take the picture.
Yeah, well, I guess we can't pan on that, so we're not.
That's all right, it's there, and I thought that was so funny.
Now, is this the grandparent that was helpful in getting the Catholic Church started?
Yes, my grandfather was one of the founders of the Lady of Sorrows Church in Essex.
Okay.
When they first moved to Iverton, there wasn't a church. They had to go to this St. Joseph's Church in Chester.
Okay.
So he didn't he didn't enjoy trudging 8 kids all the way to Chester. So him and some people got together and founded this Lady of Sorrows Church.
Which didn't look like it does.
Didn't look
today.
like it does now, but yeah. There are a few men, their names are on a plaque in there somewhere. I haven't seen it, but it's in there somewhere.
Well, he was kind of remarkable, huh? He did a lot of stuff.
Yes, yes he did.
A good community person, too.
And very, because he came over with probably less than $30 in his pocket from Poland, and in 2 years was able to buy a house and a lot of land. Yes.
He figured out how it all worked. That was great. And now what about your mom's?
My mother's parents. They were born in Italy, and they came over and settled in Chester. And my grandmother didn't work. My grandfather worked for a family, the Brooks family. They owned Brooks's factory. It was a factory that made screws and hooks and eyes. And he was, I think, a caretaker for the homes. They had the factories on Liberty Street in Chester. And they had 2 big mansions across the street, and that was where the families lived. Yeah. But then I guess they burnt down, or they tore them down. And then when my grandfather retired, that was it. But he worked for the Brooks' family for quite a few years. So
the building, the factory is still there, but the houses are not there. The houses
are gone.
Just empty lots, you think?
Someone bought it and built a very California-looking house on it right now, very modern. Yeah. And the houses were gone in the late '60s. I think one of them burnt down, and maybe they knocked down the other one because I guess it was getting old. It was a shame because they were beautiful old homes.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a shame.
Yeah. Yes.
And what else? Your dad sort of was, he did a lot of different things too.
Well, he was a house painter. Like I said, after the buses after they retired from the bus, he went into house painting, and that's what he did for his whole life. Yeah.
And he ran bowling alley?
Yes, down in the center of Essex. At least my mother told me this. There used to be a building, and there was a laundromat there in the '60s. But before that, it was a bowling alley with like 4 lanes.
Yeah, and I think that's not there.
I don't know.
Is that building not there?
That's the one we're thinking about, the ice cream shop.
Yeah, ice cream.
I don't know if the ice cream shop is still there.
But it wasn't in the Chalker building that you worked at. Okay.
No, I worked in the Chalker building and lived in that one. And there was a funny story with the ice cream shop. There was a woman from the Essex Rest Home. Everyone knew her from Essex. I can't remember her name, but she was quite popular, and she was a character. And one time my mother and I were walking down the street, and she was sitting on a stoop eating ice cream, an ice cream cone. So my mother said to her, "Oh, that looks good." She said, "You don't want to eat too many of those, you'll get fat." And the woman said, "Yeah, and I'll look just like you." And my mother has a good sense of humor. She said, "Well, yes, you're right. You shouldn't eat too many of them." But I always remember that was cute.
She was being very honest.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that was.
I guess. I don't know.
Funny.
I never know your mother.
Well, my mother was a little on the heavy side back then.
But she enjoyed her life, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And she used to, since she lived downtown, your mom used to
Oh,
do
she
a
used to
little
love
visiting.
the center of Essex, walking
She'll
around.
walk.
And
She would take a daily walk. Or,
yeah, yeah, but she was still working. She worked for the Brooks family in the factory.
Uh-huh.
And until it closed down. And then she went to work in a little factory that still exists in Deep River called Essico. They make soldering irons.
Okay.
And she worked there full time in the factory until she was 86 years old.
And she worked at Veriplex?
At Veriplex.
Oh, Veriplex,
yeah,
too.
she worked at Veriplex.
Because we have there we have a
Yeah,
picture
and
of-
it's before that she worked at another Essex Mills. I think it was a factory called Essex Mills.
So how the heck did she have time for all this walking and visiting?
Well,
that's what she did after work,
That's what
huh?
she did after work, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, the every place that my mother worked coincidentally closed up. That's why she left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. The final factory is still in business, but all the other factories, the Verplex,
Now, what was the
Brooks's,
final
and
one?
Essex Mills.
Which one is still going?
Essico, that makes soldering irons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's still in business in
Okay.
Deep River.
Now, tell me about the woman that did sell ice cream, Mrs. Pratt, because I think that came up in another interview. So you told me where she lived, and we have a picture of her house, which is just
Did she live
downtown.
on the other side of the, what was
you
the
said
gas
with
station,
the flat
maybe?
roof, and it was
I don't know.
a gift shop. A single white-colored house. It was a gift shop. Walker Loden. It was right next to.
Right next to the olive
what's
oils.
now Olive
Yes,
Oils.
right
Yeah.
next to olive oils.
So that picture is somewhere around. But anyway.
Anyway.
So, so you lived in Iverton then?
Lived in Iverton until I
Okay.
was about a year or two old.
Uh-huh.
And then my parents divorced, and that's when we moved in with my grandparents in Chester.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived there for several years and moved to got a job, and then moved to Essex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was interesting when I went to get a job in Essex. I applied for a job, but back then, not only did I ask if people were hiring, but I had to find out if they had 2 bathrooms.
Okay.
Because it was illegal back then
Alright.
for a man to go into a beauty shop and get his hair cut.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you, when you were
Yeah.
growing up, how many people were in that house? Because it must have been a small house, was it?
Which house?
That you lived with your grandparents?
Oh God, yes, because my brother and his wife and 2 little kids there. There were 8 of us.
And then what about aunts and uncles and all that?
No, they didn't live there. They lived in different areas, still in the neighborhoods, in the Chester and Deep River and Essex area. Yeah, it was a crowded house, but it was fun. Yeah.
So, but what are your memories when you were growing up there?
Oh God, well, basically there was a pond down the end of the road, and that was where everyone congregated would go swimming on Pleasant Street. Pleasant Street in Chester.
Oh, okay.
It's a road where you'd go to the Chester Elementary School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And
Yes.
I don't know. The pond is still there, isn't it?
The pond is still there, but you can't go swimming. It's all grown up, and but everyone went there.
There's a lot of ponds
that
in Chester, aren't there?
Yeah, and that's where everyone went swimming. I used to, even in high school in the summertime, I'd go down there and take a bath.
Uh-huh.
Bring down a bar of soap and swim in the mill pond.
So, what year did you graduate from high school?
68. 68,
Okay.
and I went on to... oh yeah, I wonder what year that is.
I don't know, but the woman who took this said, "Oh, he'll be easy to find. He's the only guy, but I see a bunch of guys in there."
Well, I was the only guy in the front row because I was so short.
Maybe that's what you meant, yeah.
That probably was 10th or 11th grade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
of the
that's
Valley
what it was.
Regional, yes.
So we found a yearbook.
And that's me on the far right.
At,
I don't have my glasses.
So
yeah.
good looking.
Thank you.
So, and you told me that you were a great student, right?
No. No, I wasn't. After high school, after graduation, I went to Middlesex College. I was going to major in business.
Right.
So I took business for 2 years, and we had to take a course in economics.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 semesters. And I ended up getting a D in both semesters. And I thought, oh gosh, maybe I better take this over again just to see if I can better the grade. So I took the course over again, Same teacher, same book, same everything. Ended up with an F. And I thought, well, this is not the way to go. I guess I have to change my profession. So that's when I decided to get into hairdressing. When I was a little kid, my mother always took me to the hairdresser when she would get her hair done. So I guess in the back of my mind.
Yeah. And where did she go to the hairdresser?
She used to go, well, my boss, Mary Ann, was her hairdresser.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And my Mary Ann married my cousin. So we're sort of related.
Okay.
So we're sort of related.
All right, I'm going to come back to your
go ahead.
school there, but I just wanted to ask you, okay, so we have your class photo. What other businesses were present in downtown? You talk about the bowling alley and the ice cream shop.
In the ice cream shop. Well, Talbot's, after the movie theater and before it was...
Oh, here's some buildings. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real old picture, and that's before Talbot's.
That's before
Talbot's.
Talbot's.
The house was there before Talbot's, and then the real estate company, and then, I don't know, financial planner or something.
Now that's the building, not where I worked. My
But
building is on the right hand. That's where the apartments are, and there's a store there
Earth
called
and-
Sensibles.
Okay, Sensibles, and now it's
Right.
Earth and Fire.
That's that building.
So the little building to the left of that.
That had to be the ice cream parlor, I'm guessing.
Oh, that was the ice cream.
Right.
So where's the Chalker building? I'm lost.
The Chalker building would be on the right of that.
On the right of
that
the big tall
trolley. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe it's in another picture.
Maybe it's in another picture.
No, but that's Mrs. Pratt's house.
That's Mrs. Pratt's house,
Okay.
right? Yes.
Okay, that's a pretty building, attractive.
Yeah, that is.
So, oh, there it is from the side.
Yeah.
So I know where the ice cream came from.
Okay, there's
Okay,
what
there's
used to be the movie
Talbot's,
theater.
and that's an old one.
And Talbot's, but in between it was, believe it or not, it was a little shopping mall inside.
Yeah, that is hard to believe.
There was
but it is a big building.
Yeah, you walk in the front door, and there were little shops on the left and the right. My dentist was in there. There was real estate, the drugstore. There was a really neat clothing store. This is back in the 70s called Marrakesh Express, very hippie clothing, which I always used to frequent. And there was an antique shop on the right-hand side. A guy by the name of Freddie Whitney ran it. And he was quite the character. He always looked very dapper. He always had a sports jacket on. He was an older man.
Yeah.
And whenever you would walk in there, he would always nab you to come in so he could tell you an off-color joke.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the nice thing I remember about him is one time...
He didn't censor the jokes, huh?
Oh, God.
For the younger...
Oh, no. No, even the little old ladies. Oh, no, he didn't
Everybody
censor
got
anything.
the same
It was
jokes.
hysterical. But one time he gave me his... he had a scrapbook of his life. The thing was like this thick. And he said, how would you like to borrow it so you can see, you know, my life when I was young and growing up and as a young adult and whatever? And I said, sure. It took me about 2 weeks to go through it. But there were pictures of him. He was very into society in New York City and Washington, D.C. There were pictures and articles about him giving parties for the Commodore of this or that, and there were pictures of him at the White House attending affairs. And the funniest thing, going through the whole thing, there was a little article that said that he was once engaged to Gypsy Rose Lee.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And I guess it was true then, or somebody thought it was true.
Maybe,
huh?
but I read it.
He didn't tell you that story.
No,
He just
he didn't
read
tell
it.
me that story. I just read it in his scrapbook.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't
he
that
was a
something?
really nice man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another character.
Another character.
You said there were quite a few
Oh,
characters,
yes.
and we're going to talk about some of those characters.
There are quite a few. Yes.
So before we move on, I think that I'm going to take a little break here. So we're going to watch a public service announcement about parks, I think.
Okay.
But don't go away. So we'll be back in 1 minute.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
we're back. And as I always say, that's so fast. We're just having a great conversation here, and now we're back. So, when you were in high school, as you told me, you were not a stellar student.
No, I was not a good student, only because I didn't like school.
Yeah?
I excelled in bookkeeping. I used to get straight A's and hundreds, and that's why I decided to go on to business.
To the business school.
Because of the accounting. I was an excellent math student, and that's it.
But it sounds like you did find what you really wanted to do and enjoyed doing pretty quickly.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
3 or 4 career choices, or
yes.
So, what did you work part-time while you were in high school?
When I was in high school, I worked in a little factory in Chester called RV Industries, and they made printing machines. Now we're going back to like 1966, 67, and these were little printing machines that you would put on your desk, not like any of the printing machines that they have today, like a mimeograph machine, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And I did that one summer, and I also one summer worked at Shellens and True in Iverton that made turbo blades for jet engines.
Wow.
Oh, I did that for one summer. That was scary because everything had to be so precise. You know. So
and where was that located?
That was on Pond Meadow Road.
Okay.
Now, I think the factory LC Doan is there right now in that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made turbo blades for jet engines.
Wow. We were making a lot of stuff in this area, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
So
yeah, it was.
We're making beer in Chester. We're making beer.
Yeah, whereabouts is that?
Right in the center, next to the art place, I guess.
Oh, yes,
that's pretty new.
Yeah.
Make a lot of food. All right, so I want to go back. So you decided to become a hairdresser, and you said where you went to school? Where did you go?
Well, Middlesex Community College,
okay.
but then Valley Regional, you know, the high school. And like I said, when the economics course just bombed out, I figured, oh God, I have to try something else.
A change of career right off the bat.
Hairdressing school up on Main Street in Middletown.
Okay,
yeah.
So that was pretty easy to get there.
Yes, yeah, it was like 25 minutes away.
So I always wonder, what else do they teach you in hairdressing school?
Well, back then, you had to learn everything, how to do nails,
yeah,
everything.
Okay.
Nowadays, the course, we had to go for 2,000 hours. It was like going on a job, on a 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
And now the course has been cut to, I think, 1,000 hours, and they don't teach nails. So in other words, you could go out and open your own nail salon. Back then, you had to have a license.
Okay.
Yeah, you had to have a license.
And now you don't?
No. No.
You don't need a license?
I don't. Well, you don't have to go to school to learn how to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but back then, you had to go to and get a state board, pass state boards to even do a manicure.
But now, did they teach you any, like, skills of how to run a business or any of that, or
no,
just how to cut the hair?
Just how to do the hair,
color.
The rest came naturally.
No medical in case you accidentally.
No, no. now in Florida, because I've been there for 6 years, I have a hairdressing license down there. And when you go to renew your license, you have to take a test. Up here, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
every 2 years you have to take a test in Florida for hairdressing.
Wow.
You know, a written test.
Yeah.
But, you know, and they also teach about sanitation things, and especially now with AIDS and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot has changed.
Yes, a lot has changed in 50 years.
So, all right, so I said, was it easy to find your first job? And you just did it by calling around? By
calling. I think I saw an ad in the paper that Mary Ann put in that she was looking for a hairdresser. So
that was your first?
That was my...
And only?
No, I worked for a year up in Middletown right after...
Oh, you did? Okay.
I got out of work after school, hairdressing school. I went to work for a year in Middletown. But I wanted to get closer to home. So I saw that Mary Ann had an ad in the paper, and I asked if she was hiring. She said yes, and then I said, do you have 2 bathrooms?
Yeah.
You had to have 2 bathrooms because, like I said, it was illegal for a man to go into a beauty shop and get his hair cut. It literally was against the law back in the early 70s. But a man could work there.
It's so weird.
But because a man could work there, you had to have 2 bathrooms.
That was like what they called the blue laws.
Probably.
All those weird blue laws. You couldn't buy liquor on Sunday.
Right. So
or greeting cards.
I had to have 2 bathrooms, one for me and one for the female clients. And then in a couple years, they got rid of the law where men could now go into a beauty shop and get their haircut. And the funny thing is, when that law was passed, out went the bathroom law. Now you only need 1 bathroom. which is sort of funny when you think about it.
So pretty soon you may need more, because all things are always changing.
Always changing, yeah.
Yeah. So you had a pretty short commute when you were working for Mary.
Lived right upstairs.
Wasn't that
That was
handy?
nice because we got to see everything.
But you could never get away from work.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, didn't have to travel. In the wintertime, I didn't have to shovel my car out. I just walked downstairs. Yeah, it was great. And we had a bird's eye view of Essex because there was big picture those big windows.
Yeah.
And that's where our shop was.
Is that your shop?
No.
That's not it.
No,
okay.
not yet.
Well, I'll find that
It'll
building.
be there somewhere.
One of these days.
It's all right.
We just need to take another walk down there.
But yeah, no, there was, we got to see a lot. We got to see a lot of people, some interesting people.
Uh-huh.
I remember one, which I didn't even mention to you, was so cute because I was at a picnic about a month ago, and someone brought this up. They said, do you remember when so-and-so, this teenage kid who used to live on Press Street, he decided he was going to ride his skateboard down Main Street, but he was going to start it from the top of Methodist Hill. You know how high that is.
It would be like riding down Sunset, right?
Right. So he had some friends go up to the top of the hill and tell him when the cars weren't coming. And he decided to go down Methodist Hill, and he did. And of course everyone was watching, you know, because I guess we all knew he was going to do it. And about 5 minutes later, he's walking up, he was going to do it again. The next thing you see his mother coming up for him. Told him, give me the skateboard, you're going home. And she gave him this, he gave her the skateboard, he didn't even put up a fuss about it. It was sort of cute, yes. Came down Methodist Hill.
Brave.
Oh, on a
Brave.
skateboard.
I think kids still do that.
I don't know.
I do.
It's so dangerous.
So he was kind of a character in process.
In process,
that little kid,
maybe. Yeah, he was a nice boy.
You had a few other interesting characters that you told me some stories about.
Some were.
One lived on Foxborough Point. You said?
Yes,
right.
Mrs. Priscilla Endicott, very nice lady. She came from money, of course.
And Endicott College, because we have a graduate here behind one of our cameras.
I don't know if it was from Endicott College or Endicott Shoes.
I think, well, I thought it might have been from both, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll have to check my information.
The story has it, when the Essex Fire Department was raising money for a new fire engine, they were having a raffle ticket, and when they went to sell her a raffle ticket at her house, she didn't buy a raffle ticket, she bought them the fire engine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boy.
She was quite a lady.
So,
from Boston?
Okay, so
she was quite a lady. I remember going to her house.
She was helpful with the fire department, the fire engines, and all that.
When she passed away,
there's the fire department.
The fire department was very well represented at her funeral, because I remember going to her funeral.
So they must have been very grateful.
Yes, very grateful.
A picture of their new building.
Yeah, I remember going to her house before she passed away, because she would get her hair, because she wasn't able to come out, so I would go do her hair at her house. And apparently the house that she bought, she knocked down and built a mid-century modern ranch. Now, it wasn't just an ordinary ranch. This thing was huge and long. And I remember going there the first time. She said to me, now, I want you to walk around the whole house, you know, go into every room, you know, see what, you know, just look around, see what you think of everything and whatever. And the thing that stuck in my mind was that she had 8 bathrooms. I'm sure the house was so long that you needed, if you were at one end of the house, you needed a bathroom before you got to the other end of the house.
And she didn't have anyone else live there, right?
She had a caretaker who lived...
But they lived somewhere else?
No, he lived in an apartment up over the... over the garage. Right, and one thing I remember, she had a indoor swimming pool. With changing rooms for the men and women, and the men's was all in blue tile and the women's was in pink tile.
And a men's bathroom and a woman's bathroom. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it did, you're right.
But anyway,
she had 8 of them.
Our pictures are getting a little ahead, because this was about another gal that you had as a customer who lived on Ingham. That's her house.
Oh, yes, of course. That, you know, I keep forgetting. You have to remind me. That was, Lucille Gear. That's where the house that she grew up on the corner of Ingham Hill Road. And she lived 2 houses away from there in a little ranch house.
Which is, could you show that one again, the ranch? Because
there it
that's
is.
There,
yes.
and that, you tell me that interesting story.
She lived there. She was a very avid crocheter, and she crocheted Afghans for every household on Ingham Hill Road, for everybody that lived there.
Isn't that something?
I don't know how long it took her. And then a few of the women that lived on Ingham Hill Road decided to get together and have her house painted. But they physically did it themselves.
Yeah.
They actually painted it themselves.
That's great.
And somehow, I think maybe she sent an Afghan to Scott Haney, who was the weather guy on Channel 3.
Yeah.
So he came down and did an article,
Oh, really?
a little segment on TV about her. And I remember, going to her funeral because she was such a nice lady. She was a customer of mine. And Scott Haney came down for her funeral, which I thought was very nice of him.
He must have been just starting out. I mean,
I can't remember how long that was, maybe 10 or more years ago.
Yeah, it had
but
to be.
I thought that was a nice thing of him to do, to come down, for her funeral. That was nice, because she had the funeral in the Congregational Church in Iverton. Centerbrook. That's now the meeting house, in Centerbrook, next to the gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where her service was.
Yeah. So, any other characters?
Yes, couple of not so famous characters, but somewhat famous. I was doing hair one day, and it was the end of the day. I was the only one in there, and this woman came in with her little girl and asked if anyone had time to cut her hair, and I said, sure, I did. So I was cutting her hair, and she was talking, the mother was talking to me, and they looked a little like they weren't from Essex or from Connecticut or from New England. These were very dramatic, theatrical, artsy people. So I cut her hair, and we had a nice conversation. I didn't ask where they were from. I didn't know, but I just assumed they had to be from New York City.
Oh, yeah.
And she paid me by check, and on the check was written in the corner where you would have your name, the capital letters V-I-V-A, Viva. And I thought, well, maybe it's a business of hers. She has a business. Maybe she's an interior decorator or has an art gallery. So I didn't think anything of it until about a couple months later. I'm looking at the Newsweek magazine, and there's a full-page article and a picture of her and her daughter. And her name was Viva, and she was one of Andy Warhol's superstars from the factory back in the 60s and 70s, where they would all film and hang out and whatever. And I actually got to see her in a movie. I found out she was in a movie called Chow Manhattan. And
so I wonder what she was doing here.
Maybe visiting
with a
somebody.
Playhouse?
Yeah.
I don't think. With a playhouse?
No, I think maybe she was just visiting somebody. And for one summer, I did an actress and singer. Her name was Martha Slama. She was Austrian, and her family escaped the Nazis during World War II, and she came over here. And I went to see her in a play at Yale, and she's been on the Ed Sullivan Show years ago, and she has albums. She sings Jewish folk songs.
Wow.
And when she passed away, I read her obituary, which I didn't realize, she never told me. But if Lee Harvey Oswald had lived, her husband was going to be his public defender.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly have some characters.
Yeah, very interesting people in Essex. I loved it.
So tell me, just between me and you and whoever's watching, do the people that have all the money tip more? Like the actresses and so on?
She was a very good tipper. I don't remember how much, because back then haircuts were $5.
Okay.
So I don't remember exactly. But yeah, people have been very generous to me. I've had a couple of people, I don't want to mention their names, that left me money in their will.
Oh, great.
And it was very nice. I enjoyed working there.
They say that, the hairdresser is like one of the most important people in a woman's life. Right?
Yeah. My husband, he used to make women's bras.
Okay.
And I remember one time being on vacation, someone asked us what we did for a living, and when we told her, she said, oh my God, the two most important people in my life, my hairdresser and someone who makes bras.
Yeah, good story.
Yeah.
So you worked at the Griswold Inn too.
One night.
Yeah.
That was a disaster. That was a disaster. I was a busboy, and I was carrying the big tray of dishes that you have to carry like this into the kitchen, and they were a little heavy, and they started to lean, and my first instinct was just to go like this, and the whole tray of dishes fell on the main floor in the dining room. I didn't get fired.
Well, that's good.
And no one seemed to care that worked there, so I decided
probably happened regularly, right?
Yeah, that was the extent of my career at the Griswold Inn.
Okay. But while we met before to talk about some of this, and we met one of the owners,
Jeff,
who told us that story.
Jeff Paul.
They confirmed that story because I had always heard it about the schoolhouse.
Oh, right.
Being part of their their bar, I guess.
Yeah. Next time I see Jeff, I'll have to ask him if he knew about the disaster at the Grizzled Inn the night I was there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he knows that.
Yeah.
Now, my niece
He probably was
is a
away.
waitress there. She's like 5 feet tall and 90 pounds. I don't know how she carries those trays.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, they weigh a
That's got to
ton.
be a tough job.
Yeah, that is a hard job.
So we just had that beautiful picture of the Iverton Inn.
Keep going.
The Iverton Inn,
I
yes.
mean the Griswold Inn.
The Griswold
Well, here's
Inn.
the Iverton
The
Inn,
Iverton
so I
Inn.
want to move over to
Yes,
that.
I actually lived there once, too, for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and what was that like? There must have been some characters there.
There were some characters there because a lot of the actors from the Iverton Playhouse were there, so I got to see a lot of people and meet interesting people, and I would always sit out in a lawn chair and just watch all the activities go by.
It's such a nice spot and such a nice facility. I know that a lot of businesses have come and gone lately, but
yeah, no,
I think they do.
Do they still have a restaurant there? I don't know.
There's something there now. They had Porky Pete's was in there for a while,
Yes,
but
that's right.
gone. So.
Right. But no, I enjoyed living there for the 6 weeks. I was in transition from going from Connecticut to Florida, so I needed places that didn't have, long leases. So that was one of them.
Yeah. And I know you're a big movie fan. And
Old movies.
A big old movie fan,
old
and I
movie
know
fan.
that you got me interested in some of the old movies that were made here, which I thought was so exciting.
Yes, yeah.
So
I think the first one I knew about was in 1961 when they made Parish. Claudette Colbert, Carl Malden, I think Troy Donahue and Sandra Dee, and they did some filming at the Essex Congregational Church. There was a wedding scene at that one, and it was filmed in Hartford.
And in Windsor.
And in Windsor.
Because there were a lot
That's
of
right, because of the tobacco fields.
Yep, and there were some homes,
and
prominent
then
homes.
I remember in 1971 they came to Essex and made a movie called Let's Scare Jessica to Death with an actress by the name of Zora Lampert. And part of it was filmed at the Dickinson Mansion.
Oh, at the Dickinson Mansion.
And in Chester.
That's a picture I forgot to get.
In Chester and in Old Saybrook.
Yeah. And then there's another fifth.
1981. It's funny, they all come every 10 years.
Oh, here's where it was filmed near
1981.
the Croft House.
The 5th of July.
Yeah.
At the Croft House with Richard Thomas, Swoosie Kurtz, and Jeff Daniels. And the whole movie was filmed at that house. I think the time element was like it was supposed to have been taken place in one day. And it was about a disabled gay writer. Richard Thomas played the part. Yeah, and that was an interesting movie. I remember seeing it.
Oh, and then of course it happened to Jane.
It happened to Jane in Chester.
Yeah,
I know. Yes,
and
that was
talked
fun.
about that with Peg Lieberman.
Yeah, my mother used to bring me down to
here.
watch it being filmed, so I got to see Doris Day from a big distance.
Oh, too bad.
You couldn't get
too
up
bad
close.
you didn't have a close up.
You
I guess
couldn't
a
get too
lot of
close.
people did have close up.
Yeah, a lot of people were in it, and some of the scenes in the town hall where they were having town meetings. A lot of the townspeople were in it. Yes.
So, let's see. Oh, I was going to say that just a month ago or so, they had the whole town was filled with snow. The downtown.
Oh yeah, they were doing that.
They were filming like a Hallmark thing.
A Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah,
I went down there
when that is.
When it had ended, because I was going down there to lunch with some friends, and to see the fake snow close up, it was looked like cotton batting, and then like spray snow that you used to spray on a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
I had to check it out.
The hardest part was
so weird.
we saw them when they were trying to clean it up.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't think they cleaned. I don't think they all cleaned it all
Yeah,
up.
that was difficult. I think getting rid of all that stuff.
But they weren't blocking people out or anything.
No,
like that.
no, you could still drive down there.
I think we have a few more. You have one more thing? Because we are very close to the end of this show. Who would have thought?
I know
that
it. That
our
time
would
went
be
fast.
out so quickly. Anything else you love? What's new? What's the biggest change?
I became a step-grandfather.
Oh.
My husband's daughter had a baby last August. She's 11 months old now, and most of the summer we spend up there babysitting, and I love it. She's the cutest little thing.
Okay.
They're off on a Disney cruise this Sunday.
See?
With the baby.
We should have got a picture of the baby.
Oh, we should have. I know.
Now,
She's adorable.
Everybody likes to show off their
Her name is Aurora.
That's a great name.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at the end of our program.
Can I just say hello to somebody?
Oh, sure.
Hi, Joanne.
Well, you should say hello to Mary Ann.
Yes, but I had to say hello to Joanne.
Joanne, okay. You
Yes.
better say hello to Aurora.
Oh, and Aurora, yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has really been
Thank you for
fun
having me. This
and
has
a good
been a ball.
opportunity to meet with you before we did this, so
Yeah,
I
thanks.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And he didn't give me this haircut, but he has cut my
Yes,
hair.
I used to be her hairdresser before I moved to Florida.
Right. Oh, well, now. Well, when I go down there, I'll find
Yeah,
you.
I'll be
Give me
there.
a haircut. So this concludes today's program. We hope you have enjoyed it. Shows in this series can be seen on Monday nights at 7 p.m. or at other times on demand. Just go to the station's website, Valley Shore Community TV, vsctv.com, and follow the prompts. If you would like to be on this program or host this program, email me at Conteza, C-O-N-T-E-Z-S-A, @gmail.com. For the Looking Back series, I'm Mary Ann Pleva. Oh, and thanks for watching.